Emma had an all-consuming protectiveness over her younger brother, Lucas. When she was 10, she'd almost been kidnapped, but Lucas had jumped into the kidnapper's car in her place. Though he was eventually ransomed back, the ordeal left him with a scarred face and 2 broken legs. From that day on, Emma's protectiveness transformed into an intense obsession. Anyone who so much as made a snide comment about Lucas found themselves with broken bones, Emma's wrath often leaving them in a sorry state. Lucas had become her one weakness, the person no one was allowed to touch. Years passed, and Emma built herself into a powerful CEO. Driven by the desire to heal Lucas, she spared no expense sending him overseas for treatment. The day Lucas finally recovered completely, he received an invitation to Emma's engagement party. Thrilled, he headed home with a gift, only to be accosted by Emma's fiancé, Alexander. Well, look who's here, Alexander sneered. The pretty boy finally shows his face. I thought you'd hide abroad like a coward forever. Before Lucas could respond, Alexander swung a golf club, hitting him hard on the head. Pain exploded through Lucas's skull as he stumbled back, tripping and falling to the ground. You've got it all wrong, Lucas tried to say, but Alexander forced a metal bar into his mouth, ramming it in twice. Agony shot through Lucas's mouth, and the taste of blood filled his throat, making him choke and cough up blood. Wrong? Don't think I don't know you, sweet. Talked Emma into buying you that mansion. You found out we're getting engaged, so you came crawling back to interfere. Even if you fail, you can still leech off her like the parasite you are. Today, I'm going to teach you the price of being a homewrecker. Alexander kicked Lucas, sending him sprawling. The back of Lucas's head hit the sharp corner of a coffee table, splitting open. Panic and anger welled up in Lucas. You're really mistaken. I'm Emma's actual brother. She texted me a few days ago, asking me to come back for the engagement party. Alexander paused, stunned. A large man behind him, Max, leaned in and whispered, Boss, I've heard she has a brother who's been abroad for years, but none of us have ever seen him. Heard they're twins. Alexander glanced at Lucas's face. Twins? This pretty boy looks nothing like Emma. Just then, a burly man with a scarred face, Victor, entered. Victor was one of Emma's most trusted men and should have known Lucas. Victor, it's me, Lucas. Lucas managed to croak out. Victor froze, looking at him in confusion. Who's this kid? How does he know me? But Alexander raised the metal bar again and struck Lucas across the mouth, silencing him as he clutched his bleeding lips. He's the pretty boy I told you about. Probably just overheard the others greeting you. Alexander dismissed. Victor shook his head. No, he said his name was Lucas. Lucas is the young master's name. Not many people would know that. He strode over, tilting Lucas's face up to examine it closely. This face looks nothing like the young master. Lucas's heart sank. Victor hadn't seen him since his reconstructive surgery. Wait, Victor suddenly remembered. The young master was sent abroad for plastic surgery. Have you had work done? Hope flared in Lucas's eyes as he nodded frantically. Yes, I'm your young master. Alexander scoffed. He lives off his looks. Isn't it normal for a pretty boy like him to have plastic surgery? Victor held up a hand to silence him. A face can be faked, but identity documents can't. Search him. 2 thugs grabbed Lucas, pinning him down and searching his pockets. Lucas struggled, earning a hard slap from Alexander. Stay still. Tie him up. They bound Lucas tightly, and the humiliation stung. Victor watched, hesitant. You beat him up pretty badly. What if he really is the young master? Alexander just chuckled, offering him a cigarette. What's there to be afraid of? I'm about to marry Emma. Even if I roughed up her brother a bit due to a misunderstanding, it just shows how much I love her. She'll forgive me. Victor took a drag from the cigarette and nodded. Soon, they pulled out Lucas's identification. Alexander snatched it, looked at it, and burst out laughing. See, told you the kid was lying. Victor leaned in, reading the name aloud. James. He then flipped open Lucas's graduation certificate. Michael. He's definitely an imposter. The young master's name is Lucas, and he went to Italy, not Spain. Lucas's heart dropped. After the kidnapping, Emma had secretly changed his official residency, using their mother's surname. She hadn't told anyone these details to protect him. Had she also hidden his real destination? Oh, Emma, your protection is going to get me killed, Lucas thought in a panic. Victor's expression turned cold. How dare this kid impersonate the young master? Beat him. Lucas was shoved to the floor, pummeled with fists and kicks. His phone slipped from his pocket, and when the screen lit up, Victor saw the locked screen wallpaper. His face changed. Hold on. The photo is of him and the boss together. Victor picked up the phone, his hand shaking slightly. Is this your phone? He asked Lucas. Lucas nodded desperately. Alexander sneered. Victor, it's just a picture. Maybe the kid photoshopped it. Lucas made urgent noises, trying to get Victor to unlock the phone. Victor seemed to understand. He held the phone up to Lucas's face, unlocking it with facial recognition and opening the chat history with Emma. He really has the boss saved as his sister, Victor exclaimed, shocked. Alexander grabbed the phone. These manipulative pretty boys always call women sister to latch onto rich older women. Don't fall for it. He scrolled up, then his face contorted with rage. What the hell? She not only bought you a mansion, but she calls you baby and says she never wants to be separated from you again. Lucas wanted to explain, but the pain in his mouth was too much. Emma only had him, her only family. She didn't want him living abroad forever. Since childhood, no one had ever dared touch him, and now her own fiancé had beaten him so badly he could barely speak, and her men didn't recognize him. Sister, it hurts so much, he thought, and silent tears streamed down his face. Victor frowned. His personality is actually quite like the young master's. Sensitive, cries easily when wronged. Maybe we should investigate further. The boss absolutely dotes on the young master. If he really is him, we're all in deep trouble. Alexander nodded slowly. All right, I'll make a call. If he really is Emma's brother, I'll take responsibility for what I did. But if he's not, his face twisted into a menacing snarl. I'll make this pretty boy regret ever being born. He ordered the thugs to gag Lucas again, then dialed Emma's number. Hey, honey, you mentioned a few days ago that your brother was coming back for our engagement party. Do you know exactly when he's arriving? I want to prepare a welcome gift for him, so I thought I'd ask. Emma's happy voice came through the phone. How thoughtful of you. He said he should be back tomorrow night. A chill went down Lucas's spine. He had changed his flight to today to surprise her, and now Alexander's gaze on him turned deadly. If Alexander hung up now, Lucas knew he was doomed. Summoning every ounce of strength, he sank his teeth into the thug's hand. The man yelped in pain, his grip loosening. Sister, help me. Lucas shouted at the top of his lungs. Alexander's face turned ashen. He lunged forward, kicking Lucas down and stomping on his mouth. On the phone, Emma's voice turned cautious. Did I just hear someone shout, Sister, help me? Alexander forced a smile. Just the TV. Since your brother's arriving soon, I need to rush and prepare his gift. Talk later. With that, he ended the call. Despair washed over Lucas. Excruciating pain radiated from his mouth as Alexander pressed down harder with his foot. You damn liar. Almost fell for your trick. Tears streamed down Lucas's face from the pressure, but Alexander wasn't satisfied. Looking at Lucas's tear-stained face, jealousy flashed in Alexander's eyes. So this is the face you used to seduce Emma? She's already agreed to marry me, yet she still bought you a huge mansion. A thug behind him tried to reason. Actually, it's not that unusual. Big bosses often keep lovers on the side. Since the boss likes him, maybe we should let him go. You're the one marrying her, after all. Victor chimed in. Yeah, you're the official fiancé. He can't possibly compete with you. Alexander seemed to waver at their words. A wave of bitterness surged through Lucas. He was Emma's own brother, yet he was being beaten like a common gigolo. His sister had the worst taste in men. When he saw her, he'd definitely demand she call off this engagement. Alexander noticed the hatred in Lucas's eyes, and his momentary hesitation vanished, replaced by fury. You dare glare at me, pretty boy? Even if I don't kill you today, I'll ruin you. He lifted his foot, pulled out a knife from his pocket, and slashed at Lucas's face. No. Lucas screamed in pain, but Alexander only moved faster. When you're an ugly freak, Emma will definitely like me best. Sharp pain stabbed at Lucas again and again, and he almost fainted. This face. Emma had spent a fortune, hiring top specialists and taking 3 long years to reconstruct it. Now Alexander was destroying it. You're dead meat, Lucas gritted out. This enraged Alexander even more. Damn you. You dare curse me? Curse me. Go on. Lucas felt a sharp, numbing pain across his lips, and then he couldn't speak. Just as Alexander was about to continue, the click, Clack of high heels echoed from outside the door. Boss, what brings you here? It was Emma. Sister was here. Lucas struggled to sit up, but a sharp pain shot through the back of his knee. Alexander had struck him there with the metal bar, and he collapsed instantly. Victor's face paled. Quick, hide him. If the boss sees this, she'll go crazy. Hurry. Alexander and two thugs dragged Lucas into the adjacent kitchen. Just as the sliding door closed, Emma walked in. Victor, didn't I tell you to get the decorations ready? Where are the things? I just got here myself, boss. The stuff's still in the car. I'll have them bring it in now. Victor took the remaining two thugs outside to unload. Emma walked around, her heels clicking on the floor as she inspected the place. The renovation looks good. He'll definitely like it. Is this the kitchen? She asked the designer nearby, reaching out to push the door open. Seeing her silhouette through the frosted glass door, tears welled up in Lucas's eyes. Sister, hurry. Come in and save me. Emma slowly pushed the door open. When she saw Alexander hiding inside and Lucas lying on the floor, her eyes widened in shock. Alexander, what are you doing here? Who is he? Why is he covered in blood? She frowned, pointing at Lucas. Sister, it's me. Recognize me, please. Bound up, Lucas could only wriggle desperately on the floor, trying to move towards her. Alexander kicked him in the face. Damn it, stay still. The kick left Lucas dizzy and disoriented. He moaned, trying to call out to his sister. This enraged Alexander even more. He kicked Lucas in the mouth again. Damn you, pretty boy. You dare call her sister right in front of me. Hearing Lucas's voice, Emma shuddered. She knelt down, carefully examining his face. Before she could recognize him, Alexander spoke up, his voice thick with fake hurt. Honey, you don't have to tell me. I know he's the pretty boy you keep hidden abroad, right? You bought this mansion for him too. Originally, I didn't mind. You're so successful, it's understandable to have someone on the side. Alexander's eyes reddened with false grievance, his voice choking up. I just wanted to see what it was about him that made you like him so much. I can learn. I can be just like him. Then maybe you'll love me a little more too. Emma was touched by his act. She stood up and pulled him into an embrace. What silly things are you saying? I told you I only love you. Otherwise, why would I agree to marry you? Silly boy, this house is for my brother. Isn't he coming back tomorrow? I wanted to surprise him, so I didn't tell anyone. You misunderstood. Wait, you still haven't told me who he is. I don't keep any pretty boys on the side. She looked confused, gesturing towards Lucas again. Alexander seemed to finally understand, his face turning deathly pale. He's some pretty boy who offended me. Victor, and I just taught him a lesson. Emma frowned. Offended you? Then he deserved a lesson. But you shouldn't have brought him into my brother's villa. It's bad luck bringing bloodshed into a new house before it's even properly used. It's inauspicious. Hearing Emma's stern criticism, Alexander's voice trembled. I understand. I'll have someone drag this kid out and dispose of him right now. Then I'll get a statue of a deity to ward off the bad luck. Tomorrow, I'll personally apologize to your brother. He won't hold it against me, right, honey? Emma gave a fond smile. My brother has a very good temper. He definitely won't blame you. As the thugs lifted Lucas to carry him out, panic gripped him. Alexander's idea of disposal surely meant killing him. He must have guessed who Lucas might be by now. He couldn't take the risk. He needed to be certain. Realizing this, Lucas struggled violently, earning another slap. Kid, you messed with me. Now you die? Drag him out quickly, Alexander urged. Just then, Victor walked in, carrying a statue of the kitchen god. Seeing Emma's displeased expression, he immediately tried to butter her up. Boss, please don't be angry. We didn't want to draw blood either, but this kid insisted on impersonating your brother. Alexander frantically tried to stop him, but it was too late. Emma instantly caught the key phrase, her voice turning ice cold. What did you say? He impersonated Lucas. Victor nodded eagerly, trying to please her. Yes, and he wasn't even convincing. We checked. His ID doesn't have the young master's name at all. He fawningly handed all of Lucas's documents to Emma. Emma stared at the ID card, her face losing all color. How can this be? Seeing her eyes turn red and her body tremble, Victor quickly added, Boss, this kid's name is clearly James. He kept yelling he was the young master. Almost fooled the future boss too. Luckily, I've been with you for a long time, boss. I know the young master's name is Ethan, and I know you sent him to France, not the UK. This kid was on the verge of death and still dared to pretend to be the young master. Luckily, I got here in time to expose his lies, Victor boasted, his chest puffing out as he waited for Emma's praise. Hearing this, Alexander's eyes darted around nervously, and he quickly tried to distance himself. Yeah, it was all thanks to Victor. He arrived just in time, saw through the kid's lies, and even taught him a lesson. Emma's face paled, and she dropped the documents she was holding. She rushed towards Lucas, snatching him from the thug's grasp and pulling him into a tight embrace. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "Ethan, is it really you?" Lucas nodded weakly, struggling to speak. "Sis." Victor's expression turned to one of shock and disbelief. "Boss, he's lying to you." Before he could say another word, Emma stood up and slapped Victor hard across the face. "Shut up. Before I sent my brother abroad, I personally changed his name to my mother's surname. I didn't tell anyone, so that he wouldn't be a target for our enemies." Victor held his stinging cheek, looking confused. "But I saw the young master board the plane to France with my own eyes." "That was just a distraction," Emma snapped, her voice choked with emotion. "He flew to France first, and then transferred to Switzerland. That way, no one could track him." She hugged Lucas tightly again, tears soaking his shirt. "Ethan, who did this to you? Call an ambulance now." A thug rushed off to make the call. Victor sank to the floor, his face ashen. "If anything happens to Ethan, you're dead," Emma roared. Victor's face turned even paler, but then he seemed to remember something. "Boss, we called you earlier, and you said the young master wasn't coming back until tomorrow. Could this guy have stolen the young master's documents? He could be an imposter." Emma paused, a flicker of hope in her eyes. She loved Lucas so much that she didn't want to believe the battered figure in her arms was really him. She gently laid Lucas back on the floor and took out her phone to call him. A ringtone suddenly sounded from Alexander's pocket. He fumbled with the phone, his hands shaking, and handed it to Emma like it was Tongshow. "Honey, I found this phone outside. Is it your brother's?" Emma snatched the phone and pressed the power button. When the lock screen photo appeared, tears welled up in her eyes again. "It's his. We took this photo when I visited him for Christmas 2 years ago." Alexander looked panicked. "It's all my fault. I didn't even look at the phone when I found it. I'm so sorry." Emma gently traced the photo on the screen with her finger, then turned to Victor, her voice icy cold. "Victor, you've been with me for years, and you couldn't even recognize Ethan's voice? Do you admit your mistake now?" Terrified, Victor prostrated himself on the floor, banging his head repeatedly. "Boss, the phone could have been stolen. You have to investigate and clear my name." Alexander quickly chimed in. "Yeah, honey, let's look into it properly." Emma tried to unlock the phone, entering Lucas's birthday. It opened. She quickly went to the Notes app and found a message. She read it out loud, her voice trembling. "Sister's getting engaged this weekend. I'm going to fly back early secretly to surprise her. I love the villa she sent me pictures of. Can't wait to move in." Below it was a screenshot of the flight. "Change booking." At that moment, Emma broke down, sobbing. "Ethan, my brother, I'll make everyone who hurt you pay." Victor's face lost all color, and he started banging his head on the floor again. "Boss, I didn't hurt the young master. It was him." He pointed at Alexander. Before he could finish, Alexander shoved a rolling pin into Victor's mouth, blood trickling out. "It was him who hurt your brother, honey. You even slapped him yourself just now. I was about to accept him as your brother, but Victor told me he was an imposter, and I believed him. I'm so sorry. I'll get revenge for your brother right now." With that, he raised the rolling pin and brought it down hard on Victor's head. Victor screamed, "Boss, no, I didn't do it. It was Alexander." But Alexander didn't stop. He kept hitting Victor with all his might until Victor's screams suddenly stopped, and he went limp. The commotion was too much for Emma. "Enough. My brother is in critical condition. Stop this fighting." Just then, the ambulance arrived outside the villa. Emma ordered the remaining thugs to carefully carry Lucas and accompanied him into the ambulance. She also told her men to bring Alexander and the unconscious Victor to the hospital. "If my brother's condition doesn't improve, I'll kill them both on the spot." In the ambulance, Emma held Lucas's hand tightly, tears streaming down her face. Lucas wanted to wipe away her tears, but darkness overwhelmed him, and he passed out. When he woke up, he was wrapped in bandages like a mummy, with an IV drip attached to his hand. Alexander and Victor were kneeling nearby, trembling. "Ethan, you're awake." Emma immediately called for the doctor and reassured Lucas. "Don't worry. This is my private hospital, and the doctors here are the best. They'll make you better in no time." The doctor came over, checked Lucas's pupils, and listened to his heart. He let out a sigh of relief. "Boss, the young master's main injury is a concussion from the blow to the back of his head. He fainted earlier because of the prolonged abuse and the sudden release of stress. It's not too serious. With some fluids, medication, and about half a month of rest, he should recover." Emma relaxed a little, but then asked, "Will there be any long-term effects?" The doctor hesitated, looking uncomfortable. Well, the young master's face was already disfigured once when he was a child. It took many surgeries to fix. Now that it's been slashed with a knife again, it will be very difficult to repair. And his lips were cut open. Even after stitches, there will be a scar. I don't know who could be so cruel. Emma's eyes turned red with anger. "Get the previous surgeons here, no matter the cost. Fly them in right away." The doctor nodded frantically and scurried off. Emma picked up a scalpel from the surgical tray and turned to the two kneeling men. "Who used a knife to slash my brother's face and cut his lips? Speak up." Alexander jumped up and pointed at Victor. "It was him. The knife is still on him." Victor looked terrified, shaking his head. "Boss, you know me. I've been with you for years. I would never hurt the young master." Emma nodded slowly and called the thugs in. "Search him." The thugs found the bloody knife on Victor. His face contorted in horror as he desperately tried to defend himself, pointing at Alexander. "It was you. You planted that knife on me while I was unconscious, didn't you?" Victor's voice was a pained gurgle, blood bubbling at his lips. Alexander's eyes flashed with a manic glint as he snatched a pair of surgical scissors from the tray. In one swift, brutal motion, he lunged forward, driving the sharp tips into Victor's mouth. A guttural scream tore from Victor's throat. He clutched at his mangled mouth, crimson trickling through his fingers. But Alexander was far from done. With a sickening snip, he sliced through Victor's lips, widening the wounds. Victor collapsed to the floor, writhing in agony as blood pooled around him. Alexander tossed the blood, smeared scissors aside, and dropped to his knees at Emma's feet, his eyes glistening with crocodile tears. "Honey, look at this knife. His name is engraved on it. How could I possibly be the culprit? Earlier, despite my warnings, he kept brandishing that knife near your brother. He even taunted him about his scarred past. When your brother snapped back, he flew into a rage and disfigured him. It was a nightmare." Emma's fingers tightened around the knife's handle. She recognized it as the blade she'd gifted Victor years ago, unaware that Alexander had coerced it from him that very morning. "Victor, after all these years by my side, you not only failed to recognize Ethan, but also butchered him like this? What do you have to say for yourself?" Her voice was ice, cold, laced with a murderous intent that sent a chill through the room. Victor's eyes bulged with terror. Desperate to defend himself, he fumbled for his phone, signaling that he could type out the truth. But before he could, Alexander lashed out, kicking the device across the room. Then, with a cruel laugh, he brought the scissors down on Victor's hands, stabbing again and again. "These are the hands that marred my future brother-in-law's face. I'll make sure they're good for nothing." Tendons snapped under the relentless assault, and Victor's screams echoed through the hospital room until he finally passed out from the pain. Alexander feigned a sob, wiping away fake tears. "Honey, the doctor said Ethan's face might never be the same. He deserves a taste of his own medicine, don't you think?" Emma's expression darkened. She clapped her hands sharply, summoning the two thugs. "The future boss says Victor is the culprit. You were there. What happened?" The thugs, their legs trembling at the sight of the unconscious Victor, exchanged panicked glances. Alexander shot them a menacing glare. Glancing at Victor's broken form, they knew which side their bread was buttered on. "It was all Victor, boss." Mr. Alexander just wanted to investigate, but as soon as Victor arrived, he started attacking the young master. He even laughed after slashing his face, saying it was a gift for you. A cold, calculating look crossed Emma's face. "In that case, return the favor." The thugs dragged Victor out of the room like a rag doll. Moments later, blood-curdling screams pierced the air. When Emma returned, her expression was disturbingly calm. "Victor couldn't handle the acid. He's gone." Alexander smirked triumphantly, a sight that made Lucas's blood run cold. With his mouth stitched shut, Lucas was powerless to expose the truth. In Alexander's eyes, he saw a primal, possessive madness. "Honey, you must be exhausted. Let me watch over Ethan while you rest," Alexander cooed, massaging Emma's shoulders. She hesitated, and Lucas's heart leaped into his throat. "But I'm so worried I hurt him by mistake. Let me make it up to him, please," Alexander pleaded, his eyes welling with fake remorse. Emma finally relented, brushing a hand over Lucas's cheek. "I'll be back soon, Ethan." As she left, Lucas's eyes widened in terror. Alexander's facade immediately crumbled. "She doesn't trust me. She's probably listening outside," he sneered. Lucas quickly grabbed his phone and typed, "Brother-in-law, I know you love her. I won't say anything. I understand." Alexander snatched the phone and laughed maniacally. "Smart move, but you're still in the way." His expression turned venomous. "Before you came back, Olivia was mine. Now, even with your ruined face, she only has eyes for you. You shouldn't have come back." He pulled out a packet of powder and emptied it into Lucas's water. "The doctor said your blood sugar was low. This little gift will make sure you're never a threat again. 3 days of this, and you'll be a vegetable." Lucas's eyes widened in horror. Just then, the click-clack of high heels echoed in the hallway. Was Emma returning in time, or was it already too late? Alexander's mouth snapped shut the moment he registered the click of the door. Emma pushed into the room, a straw pinched between her perfectly manicured fingers. "Honey, quickly give Ethan some water. Look at how parched his lips are," she cooed, her voice as smooth as silk. With a practiced smile, Alexander reached for the straw, slipping it into Lucas's mouth. Panic surged through Lucas as he thrashed his head from side to side, sending droplets of water flying. "Ethan, what's gotten into you?" Emma sighed, her brows knitting in mock concern. "I've always told you, you need to be more compliant." Alexander joined in, his tone dripping with false concern. "Listen to your sister now. Drink up." His words cut off mid-syllable as Emma's hand shot out, yanking a syringe from his chest. "I wasn't speaking to him," she hissed, her eyes glinting like shards of ice. "I was talking to you. I made it crystal clear. Anyone who lays a finger on my brother signs their own death warrant. But since you were once my fiancé, I'll extend you a sliver of mercy." With a sharp clap, the two thugs from earlier burst into the room. In seconds, Alexander was trussed up like a Thanksgiving turkey, his struggles futile against the thick ropes. As Emma began to explain, the pieces of the puzzle fell into place for Lucas. When Alexander had gone into a frenzy, framing Victor and attempting to silence him, Emma's suspicions had been piqued. She'd ordered Victor to be whisked away, not to a violent end, but to a private medical suite. The blood-curdling screams that had echoed through the halls. A masterfully staged performance, designed to lull Alexander into a false sense of security. Lucas's eyes widened in a mix of shock and relief. "You knew all along?" he mumbled through his stitched-up lips. Emma's gaze softened as she looked at her brother. "These past few years, I listened to your pleas, Ethan. I turned my back on the shadowy world Dad once ruled. Our company now shines bright on the global stage, partnering with titans in New York City. I've built a reputation as a legitimate businesswoman. Why would I risk it all by ordering Victor's death?" She went on to reveal how the thugs had spilled the beans about Alexander's treachery, prompting her elaborate ruse. But Lucas still had one burning question. How did you know he'd try again? A dark chuckle escaped Emma's lips as she pointed to a nearly invisible camera in the corner. "Even when I stepped out, I never left you unguarded. The moment I saw him reaching for that packet of powder, I saw red. I rushed to the doctor and demanded the strongest sedative in the arsenal." Lucas felt a wave of emotion wash over him. In the past, Emma had waded through a sea of violence and vengeance to protect him. Now, she'd outsmarted a villain with brains instead of brawn. "Sis, I never wanted you to." "Ethan," she interrupted, her voice thick with emotion. "You're the reason I changed my ways. Every time I faced down corporate saboteurs or backstabbing rivals, I thought of you, safe and sound overseas. It gave me the strength to keep going." Just then, Alexander groaned, regaining consciousness. His eyes bulged with fury when he realized his predicament. "You imbeciles! Untie me this instant!" he roared at the thugs. Emma rose to her feet, her posture regal. "I'm the one who gave the order," she stated flatly. Alexander's expression morphed into a mask of false innocence. Honey, what's the meaning of this? I love you. You can't choose him over me. Without a word, Emma held up her phone, the security footage playing in a loop. Alexander's face drained of color as his sinister plot played out before his eyes. Everything I did for us. He finally screeched, his mask slipping. You were mine until he came back. Emma scoffed, swiping to reveal more damning evidence. And what about these? 6 months of embezzlement, kickbacks, all in my company's name. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Alexander's bravado crumbled. So what? I'm your fiancé. The company will be mine one day anyway. Emma shook her head sadly. This isn't about ownership. You broke the law, and you tried to kill my brother. I can't let you go free. As Alexander devolved into a snarling mess, hurling insults at Emma, her eyes filled with a mix of anger and sorrow. Do you remember when you took a bullet for me? I thought you were as loyal as Ethan. But you've shown your true colors, and I can't trust you ever again. With a final command, Emma had Alexander gagged and handed over to the police. Her lawyers were already hard at work, compiling a mountain of evidence. A month later, in a highly publicized trial, Alexander was found guilty on multiple counts and sentenced to death with a 2-year reprieve, effectively locking him away for life. 3 months down the line, Emma pulled out all the stops. She flew in the world, renowned surgeons who had first repaired Lucas's face. Thanks to her swift and expert care, his wounds were in prime condition for the revision surgery. When the bandages came off, Lucas stared in the mirror, almost unable to believe his eyes. His face was nearly restored, save for a faint scar that now served as a reminder of his harrowing journey. Victor, too, had made a remarkable recovery. While his hands would never be as strong as before, he could still grip a pen and hold a cup. One day, as he sheepishly eyed his now empty knife collection, Emma couldn't resist teasing him. Still itching to play with sharp toys? Victor's eyes widened comically as he waved his hands. Never again, boss. I've seen the error of my ways. The sound of their laughter filled the room, a light-hearted moment after the storm. 2 years passed in a blur. Lucas started working at Emma's company, where he met a kind-hearted woman who stole his breath away. On the day he proposed, Emma stood by his side, tears glistening in her eyes as she placed their mother's bracelet on his fiancé's wrist. Welcome to the family, she said, her voice breaking with emotion. You've made my brother happy, and that's all I could ever ask for. In that embrace, surrounded by love, Lucas knew that no matter what the future held, he and Emma would always have each other's backs.